Hi, today I'm going to go over some of the new features in Copy Services Manager 6.1.2. We just released it in June 28th, 2016 for the distributed side, and in a couple days here we'll have the ZOS side as well, a ZOS PTF available. So to go down the list, first thing I want to mention is Copy Services Manager is now pre-installed on the DS8000 HMC. That was started with the 8.1 version of the DS8000. So if you upgrade your microcode or buy a new box with the 8.1 version or higher, you will get Copy Services Manager pre-installed on it. There's not much I can show you there, but just to talk through it a little bit, what that does is it gives you an easier way to get access to the Copy Services Manager. You don't need a separate server to do the install. The install is typically fast for Copy Services Manager, but it's even faster if you have it already there. So on the HMC, you can point your browser to it with the /CSM, and you'll have access to Copy Services Manager. By default, it will have some basic enablement. What that means is some flash copy sessions will be active, as well as support for LDAP. So what does the LDAP do is you can set up the Copy Services Manager to use LDAP authentication and then point DS8000 to that CSM version in order to get the DS8000 to have LDAP authentication capabilities. So no longer do you need an external server. You can use CSM as your server that will authenticate with the LDAP server. All right, moving on. We also now in 6.1.2 added multi-incremental flash copy support. This is both for our flash copy session and our practice sessions. So I'll go right into that and show you what that looks like. So here's my Copy Services Manager 6.1.2 GUI. I'm going to go into the sessions, and I've already defined a couple flash copy sessions here. So just going to drill down into the first one. I called it FC1. I'm going to look at the copy sets, and you'll see that the copy sets I chose are on this box, volume 4009, so LSS 40 volume 9, as a source. So what multi-incremental flash copy does is it lets the same source have multiple targets, but both of those targets, or multiple of those targets, have incremental capabilities. So DS8000 released this recently, and now CSM is supporting it, so that on that flash copy session you can actually flash those multiple multiple targets on different sessions with incremental. So here I am. If I go into the properties, nothing changes here from before. We used to have incremental here as well, so you just set it, the session is incremental if you want this capability. What actually changes is if you go into the second session. So I'm going to my FC2 session, and I look at the volumes there. You can see that that same source volume, that 4009 volume, is used in this session as the other session. The targets are different, but the sources are the same. And now in this one, if I go to the properties, I can see that incremental set on this as well. So before this support, if you set one as incremental, you couldn't set the other one as incremental if they were using both the same source. What we can now do is flash them both at the same time, and both have incremental. So I'm going to flash this one. Do I want to flash? Yes. So now that session's been flashed, and remember FC2 has the same source volume. I'm going to flash that one. Now both have been flashed, both have that incremental setting, and I'm able to flash this, like any of these, either of these sessions again, and what's being done is an incremental flash versus a full background copy flash. So for both of those sessions, now only the change tracks will be flashed and have to copy over. All right, moving on. The next one I want to talk about is we do now have email notification support in Copy Services Manager. It works basically exactly like our SNMP alerts. You do, except you have to set up a email server, which I'll show you in a second. But the same set of notifications that you would get with SNMP is what you'll get for the email notifications. In the future, we do want to add some filtering capabilities so you're not getting all the events and all through email. But right now, it will be all the events that you set up. So I'm going to go into my, and right now it's only through the CLI. In a future release, we will have the capability to set this up in our GUI as well. So I'm logging into my CSM CLI, and if I look at the help, you'll now see that there are a couple new commands. There's the add email server, add email alert, ls email server, ls alert, and then the remove actions, remove email server, remove alert. So I'm going to just go into real quick. I'm going to show you the help on the add email server. So what this is doing is this command is going to let you set up to have an email server that will actually do the emails out. So once you set up that server, whenever one of those events is triggered within Copy Services Manager, it's going to throw it to that email server, and with the email alert definition that we have, which I'll show you how you set up in a minute, I'll email out to those people that you have specified each of those alerts. So there's the help for it. Let's just add an email server real quick. So add email server. It's pretty simple. You just specify the -server, specify one of your email servers for your organization. The port is, you don't necessarily have to put a port, but you can change that if you need to. And now you see that I got the event that it was processed successfully, and now I have an email server set up. If I want to validate that, I can do ls email server, and there it is. All right, there is a reply to option. You'll see that in the abilities here. So what the reply to does is you can specify email address so that if an email alert goes out and someone replies to that message that occurs, you can set who that's going to get that reply. So if you don't set anything, then it's going to bounce back and not going to have anybody. All right, so now we have a server set up. We actually need to define who's going to get the alerts. So with that, I'm going to do add email alert, the help. You'll see it takes a recipient and their email address, and you can add a list of comma-separated email addresses for everybody you want to add. So I will add one here, add email alert, -recipient, -user at us.ibm.com. This isn't a real user, just adding in here. I'm going to hit enter, and there you see that user was added. So if I list email alert, there you go. You can see that that user was added. And again, you can add a comma-separated set of users for all the users who want to receive an email alert. Now, if I want to remove it, I can just do remove email alert recipient. And there he's removed, and then I can also remove the email server. Yes, and it's removed. All right, so that's our email notification support. So that's, again, anytime you get like a session state change, unexpected suspend type events, we will throw both SNMP, and then now if you configure the email capabilities, you can get an email event as well. All right, so next one is the backup copy service manager database via the GUI. So since I already have the CLI up, we always had the ability to, or for a while now, we've had the ability to do a backup of our internal data store through the CLI. So the make backup command, if you execute it, will create a backup of that and put it in a zip file. What we've added in this 6.12 release is if you go to the settings, advanced tools, Not only can you create the log package like usual, but right under that you have a create backup option now as well. If you click that, it's going to do the same thing you saw on the CLI, but now I can actually download it from the GUI to my own personal server or whatnot, so that I can use it later if I need to, or store it off. In addition, I can click on this download backups and download any of the previous backups that I may have issued. So this is just another helpful way to hopefully get your backups done in case you need it, and store those off. All right. Next, we have added support for a new MultiTarget MMGM session. What this is a 6-volume solution that actually allows you to global mirror back after you recover to Site 3. So let's go see what I mean. All right, so here's my new MultiTarget MMGM session. It looks the same as a regular MMGM session with MultiTarget, except you'll see that Site 1 and Site 2 actually have a journal volume each of those sites as well. So let's go ahead and start this up so you can see what it looks like. So this is issuing a starts just like our existing MMGM session. I'm going to start it from Site 1. He's going to get up and going. And while that goes prepared, I did forget to mention that on the multi-incremental flash copy support, it does support practice sessions as well. This is a big benefit to particularly global mirror practice solutions. So here's my global mirror with practice solution. The flash copy from my I2 to H2, which is my practice volume, previously could not be an incremental copy because the I2 to J2 journal had to be incremental, and they only allowed a single incremental bitmap. So now I can actually specify, if I go into the properties, I can actually specify that the H2 I2 will be incremental. And by doing that, every time you issue the flash command on this practice session, it will be an incremental flash. So no longer do you have to do those full flashes. You can do the incremental flashes. All right. So going back to that other multi-target session. He's in a prepared state now. I'm going to issue a suspend. He's now suspended. I'm going to issue the recover, and I'm going to issue that recover to Site 3. So now this is doing all the recover logic, moving to Site 3, I'm target available. I'm going to say that I confirm my production has now moved to Site 3, so now you're running at Site 3. Now here's where this session comes in differently than the other sessions. What you can do with this session is now when you look at the start menu, you'll see not only does it have the cascaded GC solutions like the other one, but you can actually choose to global mirror back in the opposite direction as well. So it's going to use those journal volumes on either Site 1 or Site 2 and cascade it with a global copy from that middle site back to the third site. So to show you, I'm going to issue yes. What it's doing is setting up that H3 to H1 failback, setting up the global mirror relationships for that H3 to Site 1 setup, and then doing the global copy from that Site 1 to Site 2 in this case. And they were prepared. So now you can see it's forming consistency groups. So now that you're running on Site 3, you are in a DR capable mode. So previously we only had global copy, which is more of a migrate back to the original sites. Now you're actually DR capable and can run on that Site 3, knowing that if you had a disaster, Site 1 is fully consistent. And obviously if you drain all the way to Site 2, it can be consistent as well. All right, so it's that simple. From there, you can do a suspend, recover, all that stuff to get back to the original site, just like the other sessions. Okay, now the last thing I want to talk about is I don't have an example to show or walk through, but well, we've worked with DS8000 and as well as AX Power HA HyperSwap so that we could help provide a 3-site solution for Power HA HyperSwap. So now you can use our MultiTarget MMGM session in Copy Services Manager, and the volumes that that session is managing, you can set up Power HA HyperSwap with. And what will happen is, so you'll have this is just example. It's not the running the HA HyperSwap stuff, but the HyperSwap would be on the Metro Mirror pair, so it'd be going H1, H2. You'd have global mirror from H1 to H3. And so if a swap occurs from H1 to H2, CSM will recognize it. The H1, H2 pairs will go into a failover state, and then you can recover and CSM and start up CSM from site 2, being able to set up the H2 to H1, H2, H3 relationships after the hyperswap has occurred. So what this does is, 3-site environments can be quite complex. So we in Copy Service Manager provide the capabilities to do those site switch commands very easily with our start, suspend, recover. Whereas Power HA HyperSwap provides that high availability for your AIX environments. All right. So with that, that's what's new in 6.12. Hope some of this is exciting to you. And if you have any other questions, please contact IBM. Thank you.